10 Habits to be Emotionally Strong. Stoicism. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by life's challenges, struggling to stay strong in the face of stress, setbacks, or uncertainty? In a world that constantly demands more from us, it's easy to feel emotionally drained, reacting impulsively rather than responding with wisdom and composure. But what if true emotional strength isn't about pushing harder or suppressing feelings, but about mastering your mind? What if the key to resilience lies in shifting your perspective, taking control of what truly matters, and embracing life's challenges as opportunities for growth? In today's episode, we're uncovering 10 powerful Stoic habits that will help you build unshakable emotional strength. The Stoics believe that strength doesn't come from avoiding hardship or chasing external approval. It comes from within. It's about training your mind to stay grounded, cultivating discipline over your emotions, and learning to navigate life with clarity and purpose. Imagine starting your day with a clear mind, staying calm in stressful situations, and developing the ability to detach from negativity. These habits will reshape how you approach life, allowing you to develop resilience, self-awareness, and inner peace, no matter what challenges come your way. So, if you're ready to transform the way you think, react, and live, join me today on Stoic in Your Life as we dive into 10 Stoic habits to make you emotionally stronger. Let's get started. Habit number 1. Focus on control. Direct energy where it matters. In a world filled with uncertainty, unexpected setbacks, and ever-growing demands, many men find themselves emotionally drained, caught in a cycle of frustration, stress, and anxiety over things they cannot control. They pour energy into worrying about the economy, other people's opinions, the state of the world, or even the behavior of loved ones. Yet no amount of stress or frustration can change these external factors. The Stoics understood this well and taught a fundamental truth. Your power lies in directing your energy only to what is within your control and letting go of the rest. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it bluntly: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. This principle is the foundation of emotional strength, and once mastered, it transforms not only your mindset but also your entire life. Think about the last time you were overwhelmed. Maybe it was at work when your boss made unreasonable demands, or perhaps it was at home when a loved one acted in a way that disappointed you. In these moments, the natural reaction is frustration, resentment, or even anger. However, if you take a step back, you'll realize that much of that frustration comes from trying to control what is beyond your reach. You cannot dictate how others behave, what choices they make, or what circumstances arise. What you can control is how you respond, what actions you take, and where you choose to direct your energy. The modern world is full of distractions that constantly pull our attention toward things outside of our control. Social media, political drama, economic uncertainty, all of which can create unnecessary stress if we allow them to consume us. However, when you practice the Stoic habit of focusing only on what you can influence, you reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your peace of mind. To apply this principle, start by filtering your thoughts through a simple question: is this within my control? If the answer is no, release it. If the answer is yes, act on it. For example, you cannot control how someone else perceives you, but you can control the way you carry yourself, your values, and how you engage with others. You cannot control the global economy, but you can control your spending habits, your savings, and the way you prepare for the future. You cannot control aging, but you can control your health choices, your mindset, and how you care for your body. This shift in perspective allows you to move through life with greater emotional resilience, no longer reactive to every external disturbance, but instead centered in your ability to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and composure. This mindset is not about passivity, it's about strategic action. Focusing on what you can control empowers you to make better decisions, protect your emotional energy, and build confidence in your ability to handle life's uncertainties. Seneca wisely observed, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Many of our worst fears and anxieties come from worrying about things that never happen or that we have no influence over. The man who trains himself to stay focused on his own actions and choices, rather than external circumstances, is a man who cannot be easily shaken. He remains composed in chaos, firm in adversity, and unbothered by the noise of the world around him. Men today, especially those navigating their 30s to 60s, face immense pressures: career stability, family responsibilities, financial security, and maintaining their physical and mental well-being. These pressures can lead to exhaustion if one tries to micromanage everything. But the wise man understands that not all battles are his to fight. He chooses his focus wisely. He does not waste time complaining about things he cannot change. Instead, he channels his effort into actions that will lead to actual results. This approach is not only more effective but also mentally liberating. The less you waste energy on what is out of your hands, the more powerful you become in the areas where you actually have control. To cultivate this habit in your daily life, practice morning reflection. Before your day begins, take 5 minutes to remind yourself of your focus. What is in my control today? Set clear intentions for how you will handle your challenges. Throughout the day, when you feel yourself getting frustrated, use that moment as an opportunity to pause and ask, am I spending energy on something outside of my control? If so, redirect your focus. Over time, this practice will become second nature, allowing you to face life's difficulties with calmness, discipline, and emotional mastery. The world will never stop throwing obstacles your way. Uncertainty is a given. Setbacks are inevitable and difficult people are everywhere. But what sets emotionally strong men apart is their ability to remain unshaken in the face of it all. They choose where their energy goes, they remain rooted in logic rather than emotion, and they accept that some things are simply not theirs to control. This is the path to freedom, resilience, and inner strength. So as you move forward, remember this simple but powerful truth. Master your focus, master your emotions, and master your life. Let go of what you can't control and take command of what you can. Habit number 2. Pause before reacting. Choose response wisely. Have you ever said something in anger that you later regretted? Maybe you fired off a harsh response in the heat of the moment, or reacted emotionally to a situation that, in hindsight, didn't deserve that level of intensity. We've all been there. Emotions rise, adrenaline kicks in, and before we know it, words spill out that can't be taken back. But what if you could break that cycle? What if, instead of reacting impulsively, you could pause, assess, and choose a response that reflects strength, wisdom, and self-control? This is the essence of the Stoic habit of pausing before reacting. A simple yet powerful practice that allows you to reclaim control over your emotions and shape your interactions with clarity and intention. The Stoics believed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, as Seneca put it, and many of our emotional reactions stem from assumptions and unchecked impulses rather than true threats or problems. Think about the modern world we live in. Our days are filled with stressors, from traffic jams to workplace conflicts, family disagreements, and even the constant flood of news and social media that trigger emotional responses. How often do you feel irritated by someone's careless comment, or find yourself reacting impulsively to bad news? In these moments, the immediate urge is to defend, attack, or express frustration. But what if you trained yourself to pause, just for a moment? That brief gap between stimulus and response is where your true power lies. The pause allows you to ask, what am I really feeling? What is the best way to respond? It's not about suppressing your emotions, but about mastering them. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is built in the pause, when you stop yourself from reacting purely on emotion and instead choose a response that aligns with your principles and long-term goals." Let's bring this to a real-world situation. Picture this. You've had a long, exhausting day, and as soon as you walk through the door, your partner or child says something that irritates you. Maybe it's a complaint about something minor or a request that feels overwhelming. Your instinct might be to snap, to say something dismissive, or to let your frustration spill out in a way that only escalates tension. But if you paused, just for 3 seconds, what could change? You could take a deep breath, recognize that your frustration is more about your own exhaustion than what was just said, and respond with patience instead of irritation. That small shift prevents unnecessary conflict, maintains peace, and reinforces your own emotional discipline. Now apply that to your workplace. Perhaps a colleague makes an unfair remark in a meeting. Instead of reacting defensively, you pause, collect your thoughts, and respond with measured calm, which not only earns you respect but also gives you control over the narrative. The ability to pause before reacting isn't just about avoiding conflict. It's about leading with wisdom, ensuring that your emotions serve you rather than control you. The modern world thrives on emotional reactivity. Social media rewards outrage, the news amplifies division, and daily life is full of situations designed to provoke a response. But the strongest, most composed individuals are those who refuse to be swept away by the chaos around them. They pause, reflect, and choose their words and actions carefully. By practicing this habit, you develop emotional resilience, allowing you to navigate challenges with grace and reason. Think about the people you respect most. Leaders, mentors, or even historical figures known for their composure. They weren't immune to emotion, but they mastered the ability to respond rather than react. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the foundation of emotional strength. Understanding that while you can't control every situation, you can always control your response. Now ask yourself, how often do you let your emotions dictate your actions? How many situations in your life could have turned out differently if you had taken a moment to pause before responding? Mastering this habit doesn't mean you become indifferent or emotionless. It means you develop a level of self-awareness that allows you to act with clarity rather than impulse. One of the simplest ways to start practicing this is through mindful breathing. When you feel emotions rising, take a slow breath in, hold it for a second, and exhale before speaking. That alone can prevent countless unnecessary conflicts and allow you to reframe your response. You can also create a mental checkpoint. When something upsets you, ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter a year from now? If the answer is no, why let it control your emotions in the present? Over time, this practice rewires your brain. You become more patient, more deliberate, and more in control of your emotional state. The benefits extend far beyond avoiding arguments. This habit strengthens your relationships, enhances your leadership skills, and allows you to move through life with a steady, unshakable presence. The world will always provide triggers, but you have the power to decide how you respond. You can be the person who adds to the chaos, or you can be the person who remains grounded, leading with logic, patience, and strength. At its core, pausing before reacting is about self-mastery. It's about proving to yourself that you are not at the mercy of external events or fleeting emotions. It's about choosing to be the kind of person who acts with wisdom, rather than being driven by impulse. The next time you find yourself in a situation that tests your patience, take that pause. It may feel small, but it's in these small, conscious choices that real emotional strength is built. You are not just controlling your words, you are shaping your character, your relationships, and ultimately, your life. Habit number 3. Be honest. Accept your truth without shame. How often do you lie to yourself? Not in the obvious way of telling blatant falsehoods, but in the small, subtle ways. Downplaying your weaknesses, justifying bad habits, avoiding difficult truths because facing them feels uncomfortable. Most of us do it more often than we realize, and while it may feel like a form of self-protection, it actually weakens us. Emotional strength begins with brutal honesty, with looking in the mirror and acknowledging both your strengths and your flaws without making excuses or hiding behind distractions. The Stoics understood that self-deception is one of the greatest obstacles to growth, and they believed that a person cannot truly improve unless they first accept reality as it is. Marcus Aurelius put it best: "A man must stand erect, not be kept erect by others." This means taking responsibility for who you are, where you are in life, and what you need to change without blaming circumstances, external forces, or anyone else. The truth, no matter how painful, is always a foundation you can build upon, whereas self-deception only leads to stagnation and failure. Think about the last time you avoided admitting something to yourself. Maybe it was ignoring the fact that a relationship was unhealthy, pretending you were happy in a job that drained you, or convincing yourself that a bad habit wasn't really affecting you. Deep down, a part of you knew the truth, but acknowledging it felt too uncomfortable, so you buried it under distractions, rationalizations, or temporary pleasures. But here's the problem. What you refuse to face today will control you tomorrow. The longer you avoid the truth, the more power it has over you. When you choose to confront reality head-on, however, you regain control over your life. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's the wisdom of Epictetus, reminding us that without self-honesty there is no direction, no purpose, no real growth. You can't fix what you won't acknowledge, and you can't become the man you aspire to be if you aren't willing to face who you are now. Being honest with yourself isn't about self-criticism or beating yourself up. It's about clarity. It's about seeing things as they are, not as you wish them to be. And this honesty must extend to all areas of life: your emotions, your habits, your relationships, your goals. Ask yourself, am I living according to my values, or am I making excuses for behavior that contradicts them? Am I showing up as the best version of myself, or am I letting fear, laziness, or comfort dictate my actions? These are hard questions, but they are necessary. The person who refuses to ask them will drift through life, always wondering why they feel unfulfilled, why they never quite reach their potential. The person who dares to ask them, however, gains the clarity needed to make real change. Seneca wisely said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." The ability to be honest with yourself is what gives you that power. It removes illusions, allowing you to take action based on reality, not wishful thinking. Now think about the moments when you were most proud of yourself. Chances are those moments came not from ease or comfort, but from times when you faced a difficult truth, took responsibility, and did something about it. Maybe it was admitting that a certain path wasn't right for you and having the courage to change direction. Maybe it was acknowledging a personal flaw and putting in the effort to improve it. Growth always begins with truth. The strongest men are not those who pretend to be flawless, but those who recognize their weaknesses and work to overcome them. How can you ever build true confidence if it's built on self-delusion? Confidence without truth is just arrogance, and arrogance is fragile. It crumbles the moment it's challenged. But confidence built on honesty, that is unshakable. Consider how this plays out in everyday life. If you tell yourself you're disciplined but you repeatedly fail to stick to your commitments, are you truly disciplined, or are you just telling yourself a story? If you insist that you're a great friend or partner, but your actions don't reflect reliability and support, is that the truth, or just a comfortable illusion? If you claim you want success but waste time every day on meaningless distractions, are you really committed, or are you avoiding the hard work it requires? These questions aren't meant to tear you down, they are meant to set you free. When you are honest about your shortcomings, you give yourself the opportunity to fix them. When you stop making excuses for your failures, you start finding ways to improve. And here's the most powerful part. Self-honesty removes shame. When you accept your truth without judgment, you no longer feel the need to hide from it. There's no embarrassment in admitting where you are in life because you understand that growth is a process. Too many people avoid self-reflection because they fear what they'll find. But the truth is, self-awareness is never the enemy. Self-deception is. The man who is honest with himself cannot be manipulated by the opinions of others because he already knows his own strengths and weaknesses. He is unshaken by criticism because he has already faced his flaws and is working to improve them. He doesn't need external validation because his self-worth is built on a foundation of truth, not illusion. To make no mistakes is not in the power of man. But from their errors and mistakes, the wise and good learn wisdom for the future. Those words from Plutarch remind us that growth comes not from avoiding mistakes, but from having the courage to admit them and learn from them. So where in your life are you not being completely honest with yourself? What truths have you been avoiding because they feel uncomfortable? And more importantly, what would change if you faced them head-on? Mastering this habit doesn't mean you'll suddenly become perfect. It means you'll gain the power to change, the wisdom to make better choices, and the strength to take full responsibility for your life. It means you'll stop wasting energy on self-deception and start directing it toward actual progress. And that is what sets apart those who merely exist from those who truly live. At the end of the day, honesty with yourself is the foundation for everything. Your decisions, your relationships, your success, your peace of mind. You can lie to the world, but if you lie to yourself, you will always feel lost. But when you tell yourself the truth, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, you gain clarity, direction, and the power to create real change. The choice is yours. Will you keep avoiding the truth, or will you face it and take control of your life? Because the moment you start being honest with yourself, everything else begins to fall into place. Habit number 4. Reflect on daily events. How often do you go to bed feeling like the day just slipped through your fingers, unsure of what you truly accomplished or where your energy went? In the rush of modern life, it's easy to move from one task to another without ever pausing to reflect. But without reflection, there is no growth. The Stoics understood that self-awareness is the foundation of wisdom, and one of their most powerful practices was the habit of daily reflection. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors, regularly wrote in his personal journal, analyzing his actions, thoughts, and behaviors, not to judge himself, but to improve. He famously said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." What he meant is that our minds, attitudes, and ultimately our lives are shaped by what we consistently focus on. If we never take the time to reflect, we will never recognize our mistakes, reinforce our successes, or align our actions with our values. Think about your own life. How often do you replay conversations, regret a reaction, or wonder why certain situations triggered you? Reflection allows you to step outside of yourself for a moment, to look at your day with an objective mind, and to ask the important questions. What did I do well today? Where did I let my emotions get the best of me? How did I treat the people around me? Did I act according to my principles, or did I allow external circumstances to dictate my behavior? These are not just questions for philosophers. They are the questions that separate men who drift through life from those who take control of their destiny. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, advised, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." And how do you learn? By reflecting on your experiences, identifying patterns, and making conscious adjustments. Life does not teach wisdom automatically. Experience alone is not enough. Some people repeat the same mistakes for decades, never realizing their own role in their struggles, while others grow and evolve by consistently examining their actions. A practical way to build this habit is by keeping a daily journal, a practice that has been used by leaders, thinkers, and warriors throughout history. It doesn't have to be elaborate. A few sentences about what went well, what could have been better, and what lessons were learned are enough. The act of writing forces clarity. It turns vague emotions into tangible insights, making it easier to recognize patterns and make intentional changes. Maybe you notice that every time you skip your morning routine, your day feels chaotic, or that when you don't control your temper in meetings, your professional relationships suffer. These realizations are invaluable because once you recognize a pattern, you can change it. Without reflection, these same mistakes will continue, unchecked and unnoticed. Beyond just looking at your own actions, reflection also helps you understand others better. Have you ever had an argument that stuck with you long after it ended? Instead of replaying it with frustration, reflection allows you to step back and ask, was I fair? Did I listen? Did I react emotionally rather than responding thoughtfully? A man who regularly reflects on his interactions becomes a better communicator, a better leader, and a better friend, because he learns not just from his successes, but from his failures as well. This practice extends into all areas of life: your health, your habits, your goals. If you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unfulfilled, ask yourself, when was the last time I evaluated the direction I'm heading? Are you spending time on what truly matters, or are you just keeping busy? Many men reach their 40s, 50s, and 60s wondering how they got where they are, feeling disconnected from the dreams they once had. Regular reflection prevents this by keeping you aligned with your true priorities. Modern life is filled with distractions, constant notifications, endless streams of content, responsibilities that pull you in every direction. It's easy to live reactively, constantly responding to what's urgent rather than focusing on what's important. But when you make time for reflection, even just 10 minutes at the end of the day, you shift from being a passenger in your life to being the driver. You start seeing what's working and what's not, what deserves your attention and what is simply noise. The more you practice this, the more intentional you become. It strengthens your discipline, helping you identify the habits that are moving you forward and those that are holding you back. The key is consistency. You don't have to reflect perfectly every day, but the more you do it, the more aware you become, and awareness is the first step toward change. There is also a deep sense of peace that comes from reflection. Instead of carrying the weight of the day's frustrations into tomorrow, you process them, learn from them, and let them go. Instead of feeling like life is slipping away, you engage with it fully, recognizing each day as an opportunity to improve. Life is not about perfection, it's about progress. And progress only happens when you take the time to see where you've been, so you can choose where you're going. As Epictetus wisely said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. If you never question yourself, if you never pause to examine your actions, you will never grow. But if you commit to daily reflection, you will develop the awareness, wisdom, and emotional strength that few people ever attain. So tonight, before you go to sleep, ask yourself, what did I learn today? How did I show up in the world? What will I do differently tomorrow? It's a small habit that can change everything. A habit that ensures you're not just aging, but evolving. And in the end, that's what truly matters. Not just getting through life, but growing through it. because a man who reflects, who learns, and who adapts is a man who cannot be stopped. Thank you for being here and for being part of this journey toward emotional strength and resilience. Your presence in this community means a lot, and I truly appreciate you taking the time to grow and learn with us. If today's video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your insights, experiences, or simply comment. I am a newbie. If you've just joined us, or I am Stoic. If you've been with us for a while, your engagement not only helps strengthen this community, but also inspires us to keep bringing you valuable content. Let's keep walking this path together, embracing challenges, learning from adversity, and building the mindset of a Stoic. Ready for the next step? Let's dive in. Habit number 5, practice daily gratitude. Have you ever stopped to consider how often your mind fixates on what's missing rather than what's already there? In today's fast-paced world, we are conditioned to focus on the next goal, the next milestone, or the next possession, rarely pausing to appreciate what we already have. But the truth is, emotional strength isn't built through constant striving alone. It's cultivated through gratitude. The Stoics understood this deeply, recognizing that the key to contentment is not in acquiring more but in appreciating what we already possess. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." This wisdom is more relevant than ever, especially in a culture that constantly pushes the idea that happiness is always just beyond our reach. Think about the last time you felt genuinely grateful for something. Maybe it was a moment with family, a simple meal, or a conversation that lifted your spirits. But how long did that gratitude last before your mind drifted back to stress, comparison, or dissatisfaction? The problem isn't that we lack reasons to be grateful. It's that we don't actively practice gratitude. We take what we have for granted while chasing what we don't. The habit of daily gratitude shifts this mindset, allowing you to break free from the cycle of always needing more and instead cultivate emotional resilience by appreciating what's in front of you. It's not about denying your ambitions or pretending everything is perfect. It's about balancing the desire for growth with the ability to find fulfillment in the present. Consider this. Have you ever met someone who seems to have everything, success, wealth, status, yet is still miserable? And on the other hand, have you encountered someone with far less who radiates peace and contentment? The difference isn't their circumstances, but their perspective. Gratitude is what allows a person to be rich in spirit, regardless of external conditions. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the most respected Stoic philosophers, understood this when he said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." If you constantly measure your happiness by what you lack, you will always feel incomplete. But if you measure it by what you have, you gain a sense of peace that external circumstances cannot shake. The modern world, especially for men between 30 and 65, is filled with pressures. Financial burdens, career expectations, family responsibilities, and the constant push to do more. It's easy to become so focused on obligations that you lose sight of what's going well. But what if, instead of being consumed by stress, you took a few moments each day to acknowledge what's good? Maybe your job is stressful, but you have one. Maybe your body isn't as strong as it once was, but it still carries you through each day. Maybe life hasn't turned out exactly how you planned, but you have learned, grown, and survived challenges that once seemed impossible. Gratitude doesn't eliminate struggle, but it puts it into perspective. When you train your mind to see what's good, you become stronger in facing what's difficult. A simple way to implement this habit is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each morning or night, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be life-changing. Small joys matter just as much. A warm cup of coffee, a supportive friend, a lesson learned from a mistake. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to seek the positive, making you more resilient in the face of adversity. When challenges arise, instead of immediately reacting with frustration, your mind will instinctively look for something constructive. This shift is powerful. It prevents you from being consumed by negativity and keeps you emotionally grounded. Another practice is expressing gratitude to others. How often do you thank the people in your life, not just for big gestures, but for the everyday ways they support you? Gratitude isn't just about personal reflection, it strengthens relationships. A simple, "I appreciate you" to a partner, friend, or coworker can change the dynamic of an interaction. When people feel valued, they reciprocate, creating a cycle of positive reinforcement. And when you make it a habit to express gratitude, you reinforce your own awareness of the good around you. But what about when life is hard? What about when you feel like there's nothing to be grateful for? This is when gratitude is most important. It's easy to be grateful when everything is going well, but real strength is built when you can find gratitude even in difficulty. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." There will be times when circumstances are beyond your control, when hardship feels overwhelming. But even then, there is something to hold on to, a lesson, an act of kindness, the simple fact that you are still here. Gratitude in tough times doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means recognizing that even in suffering there is something that can strengthen you. Gratitude is a mindset, not a reaction. It's a choice to focus on what's present instead of what's missing. It's the ability to see life's gifts even when they come wrapped in challenge. It's what allows you to stay grounded in success and resilient in failure. And most importantly, it's one of the simplest yet most profound habits that can transform your emotional well-being. So ask yourself, what am I grateful for today? What am I overlooking that deserves appreciation? How would my life change if I made gratitude a daily practice? The answers to these questions hold the key to a stronger, more fulfilled, and emotionally resilient life. Gratitude isn't just something you feel, it's something you cultivate, and in doing so, you build a foundation of strength that no external force can shake. Habit number 6. Learn the art of letting go. How much of your emotional energy is spent holding on to things you can't change? How often do you replay past mistakes, dwell on lost opportunities, or cling to resentment over things that are long behind you? The truth is, one of the biggest barriers to emotional strength is the inability to let go. Whether it's regret, anger, fear, or attachment to something that no longer serves you, refusing to release these emotional weights keeps you stuck, draining your energy and preventing you from moving forward. The Stoics understood this well, teaching that we should not waste time mourning what is gone, but instead focus on what we can control in the present. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And that is what the art of letting go is really about. Not forgetting, not suppressing, but shifting your focus away from what you cannot change and directing it toward what you can. Think about a time when you held on to something long after it was useful. Maybe it was a relationship that was clearly over, but you kept replaying conversations in your head hoping for a different ending. Maybe it was an old failure that made you doubt yourself, keeping you from taking new opportunities. Maybe it was resentment toward someone who wronged you years ago, yet their actions still had control over your emotions today. But here's a question. Did holding on to it serve you in any way? Did it make your life better, or did it only keep you trapped in the past? Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." In other words, you cannot change the past, you cannot control other people, and you cannot undo what has already been done. But you can control what you do now. You can choose to let go, and in doing so, you free yourself. In today's world, letting go is more important than ever. We live in an age of constant information, where social media reminds us daily of what others have that we don't, where comparison fuels dissatisfaction, and where past mistakes are often replayed endlessly. Many people define themselves by their past failures, as if those moments are a permanent mark rather than a lesson to move forward from. But letting go does not mean you don't care. It means you no longer allow something to control your emotions. It means accepting that some things are outside of your power and choosing peace over suffering. Have you ever met someone who carries their past like a burden, constantly talking about old grievances, missed chances, or what life should have given them? These are the people who never move forward because they refuse to release the past. And on the other side, there are people who have suffered greatly, yet they seem at peace. Why? Because they have mastered the art of letting go. So how do you actually practice this? It starts with awareness. Recognize what you are holding on to, whether it's resentment, regret, guilt, or fear. Ask yourself, is this serving me? Is this helping me become the person I want to be? If the answer is no, then why continue carrying it? Letting go is a choice, and it's one that must be made repeatedly. For example, if you struggle with forgiving someone, remind yourself that forgiveness is not about excusing their actions, it's about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. If you struggle with regret, remember that the past is done. Your only power is in learning from it and applying those lessons to the future. If you struggle with letting go of control, remind yourself that no matter how much you stress, some things are simply beyond your influence. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, advised, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things." Often, it's not the event itself that causes suffering, but our refusal to accept it and move on. Now think about areas in your life where letting go could bring you peace. Maybe it's a mistake you've made that you keep punishing yourself for, even though you've already learned the lesson. Maybe it's anger towards someone who doesn't even think about you anymore, yet you allow them to take up space in your mind. Maybe it's a fear of failure that keeps you from taking action, even though holding on to that fear only ensures that you stay in the same place. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means moving forward with wisdom. It means understanding that life is constantly changing, and the more we resist that change, the more we suffer. There is a famous Buddhist saying, "Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die." The same is true for all forms of attachment to the past. When you refuse to let go, you are the one who suffers. But when you make peace with what was, you create space for what can be. Think about it. How much lighter would you feel if you finally let go of something that has been weighing you down? How much more energy would you have if you stopped carrying old emotional baggage and focused instead on building the life you want? Letting go is an ongoing practice, not a one-time decision. Every day, life will give you new opportunities to hold on or to release. Every day you will face moments where you can choose peace over frustration, acceptance over resistance, and presence over dwelling in the past. It takes strength to surrender what you cannot change, but that strength will reward you with freedom. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. This is the essence of emotional resilience. Letting go of resistance, embracing reality, and moving forward with clarity. So ask yourself now, what am I holding on to that is keeping me stuck? What is one thing I can choose to let go of today? Because the sooner you release what no longer serves you, the sooner you reclaim your power. Emotional strength is not about controlling everything. It's about mastering the art of release. When you let go of the past, you don't lose, you gain. You gain freedom, you gain clarity, and most importantly, you gain the ability to move forward unburdened. The past has already happened. Your only job is to decide whether you will let it define you or whether you will take its lessons and build something better. The choice is always yours. Habit number 7. Prioritize wisely. Focus on what truly matters. How often do you find yourself overwhelmed by a never-ending to-do list, juggling responsibilities, and feeling like there's never enough time in the day? In today's fast-paced world, men are constantly pulled in multiple directions: career, family, finances, health, personal growth, each demanding attention, yet not all of them contributing equally to a meaningful life. The Stoics understood that true strength and peace of mind come from knowing what truly matters and directing energy toward what is within your control. If you seek tranquility, do less, said Marcus Aurelius. Or more accurately, do what's essential. This is the essence of prioritizing wisely, filtering out the distractions and focusing only on what moves you forward in life. Many men fall into the trap of equating busyness with productivity, spending years chasing obligations that add little value while neglecting the things that actually shape their future: health, meaningful relationships, self-discipline, and personal purpose. Prioritization isn't about getting everything done, it's about getting the right things done. Think about a typical day. How much of your time is spent reacting to demands, emails, trivial tasks, or social obligations that don't bring you closer to your goals? How often do you say yes to things out of guilt or habit, rather than because they serve your long-term well-being? It's easy to confuse urgency with importance, but just because something feels pressing doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Seneca warned against this distraction of meaningless busyness when he wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." The key to emotional strength is learning to say no to external demands that pull you away from what truly matters, and to internal impulses that chase fleeting desires over long-term fulfillment. If you find yourself constantly stressed or stretched thin, the problem may not be that you don't have enough time, but that you haven't taken control of how you allocate it. One of the most powerful exercises in prioritization is asking yourself, if I could only focus on 3 things in my life, what would they be? Most men would answer with some variation of health, family, and purpose. Yet how often do these top priorities get buried under minor obligations, endless distractions, and time spent on things that ultimately don't matter? Your career is important, but is it more important than your health? Are you sacrificing time with your children for an extra hour of work that won't be remembered? Are you mindlessly consuming content that adds no value when you could be reading, learning, or developing a skill? It's not about perfection, it's about intentionality. The truth is, time is your most valuable resource, and every day, you make choices about how to spend it. The man who prioritizes wisely builds a meaningful life. The man who doesn't becomes a slave to distractions and regrets missed opportunities when it's too late. The modern world thrives on stealing your focus. Social media, constant notifications, meaningless obligations, and the pressure to always be available. The stronger man learns to guard his attention ruthlessly. When Marcus Aurelius spoke about doing what's essential, he was talking about aligning your daily actions with your deeper purpose. This means setting clear boundaries, recognizing when something is wasting your time, and having the discipline to redirect your focus. One of the best ways to do this is through structured reflection. At the start of each day, take a moment to define what truly needs to be done and, more importantly, what does not. A simple practice is the rule of 3. Each morning, identify the 3 most important things you must accomplish that day. These should be things that contribute to your health, your relationships, or your personal growth, not just things that keep you busy. If everything is a priority, then nothing is. But prioritizing wisely isn't just about time management. It's also about emotional and mental energy. How many men waste their best energy on meaningless worries, on arguments that don't matter, On trying to please people who will never be satisfied? How often do we carry resentment, anger, or stress over things that, in the grand scheme of life, are insignificant? The Stoics remind us that not all battles are worth fighting, not all problems deserve our attention, and not all people need our energy. You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire, Seneca observed. We treat time as infinite when chasing pleasures, yet panic at the idea of losing control. But the truth is, energy is finite, and if you spend it on trivial things, you will have none left for what truly matters. So how do you shift your focus to what's important? Start by eliminating the unnecessary. If something doesn't contribute to your growth, well-being, or purpose, question why you are spending energy on it. This could mean cutting out distractions, setting boundaries, and learning the power of saying no. It might also mean redefining success, not in terms of how much you accomplish, but in terms of how aligned your actions are with your core values. The stronger man doesn't chase everything. He focuses on what is worth chasing. He understands that winning at everything is impossible, but winning at the right things is essential. He protects his time, energy, and mind the same way a warrior protects his fortress, choosing battles wisely, letting go of what doesn't serve him, and never allowing external chaos to dictate his internal state. If you're constantly overwhelmed, take a moment to ask yourself, am I spending my time and energy on things that truly matter? Are you chasing approval from people who don't care, working overtime for a company that sees you as replaceable, sacrificing peace for battles that won't matter in a year? Prioritizing wisely means recognizing that life is short and not everything deserves your time. It means investing in what gives you strength rather than what drains it. It means living by design, not by default. In the end, the men who achieve peace and success aren't the ones who did the most, but the ones who did the right things consistently. The world will always try to pull you in 100 directions, but only you can decide where to place your focus. Choose wisely. If you've made it this far, you're already on the path to emotional strength. Drop a comment saying, "I am becoming Stoic," to show your commitment to this journey of resilience and self-mastery. Stick around. There's more wisdom ahead to help you build an unshakable mindset. Habit number 8. Practice mental detachment. How often do you find yourself emotionally exhausted, caught up in things that you can't control, people's opinions, workplace drama, the latest headlines, or even past mistakes that replay in your mind? In a world that constantly demands your attention, one of the greatest strengths you can develop is the ability to practice mental detachment, the art of engaging with life while not being consumed by it. The Stoics understood this principle, while teaching that emotional strength comes not from avoiding emotions but from mastering them, from choosing where to direct your energy rather than being dragged by external events. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." In other words, life will always throw challenges your way. Some people will misunderstand you, some situations will be unfair, and some days will feel overwhelming. But the choice of whether or not to be emotionally controlled by these things is entirely yours. Think about the last time someone said something that irritated you. Maybe a coworker took credit for your work, or a stranger was rude to you. Did you carry that frustration with you all day? Did you allow that one moment to dictate your mood, steal your peace, or affect how you treated others? The ability to detach mentally doesn't mean that you ignore reality. It means that you recognize what is worth your emotional energy and what is not. There is power in stepping back, in observing a situation objectively rather than reacting impulsively. The Stoics compared the mind to a fortress. When you allow every outside influence to penetrate its walls, you become weak, constantly at the mercy of other people and circumstances. But when you guard your mind and choose what enters, you maintain control. Modern life is full of distractions designed to pull you into emotional chaos, social media arguments, endless political debates, the pressure to always have an opinion, on everything. But ask yourself, does engaging in these things improve your life? Does worrying about things beyond your control make you stronger, or does it just leave you drained? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This wisdom is as relevant today as it was centuries ago. People spend hours worrying about what others think of them, about things they cannot influence, about past mistakes they can't undo. But the more you allow yourself to be consumed by things outside of your control, the less energy you have for what truly matters: your growth, your purpose, your peace. Let's take a real-world example. Think of a professional athlete. When they step onto the field, they are bombarded by external distractions: fans yelling, opponents trash-talking, referees making questionable calls. If they react emotionally to every single thing, they lose focus and underperform. The mentally strong athlete, however, acknowledges the noise, but doesn't allow it to dictate their performance. They stay locked in on what they can control: their technique, their decisions, their effort. Life works the same way. If you allow every external influence to pull you in different directions, you will never move forward with clarity. But if you train yourself to detach from unnecessary distractions, to acknowledge but not absorb, you develop a level of emotional resilience that few people possess. But how do you start practicing mental detachment? It begins with awareness. Start paying attention to what consumes your thoughts throughout the day. How much energy do you spend worrying about things you cannot change? When you feel yourself becoming overly emotional about a situation, take a step back and ask, is this within my control? Does this deserve my mental energy? Will this matter a year from now? If the answer is no, then why waste another second on it? Another technique is to practice the pause. Before reacting emotionally to something, take a breath, step back, and assess the situation rationally. Often, you'll find that what once felt urgent or personal loses its intensity when you give yourself a moment to process it. Mental detachment is also about setting emotional boundaries. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every comment requires a response. Not every problem needs to be carried on your shoulders. Some people thrive on drama, on negativity, on pulling others into their emotional storms. Don't let them pull you down with them. The strongest man is not the one who argues the loudest, but the one who remains calm and composed while others lose control. As Seneca wisely put it, you are affected just as much by what you make of things as by the things themselves. Your perspective determines your experience. If you choose to take everything personally, to react to every inconvenience, to carry every burden, you will be emotionally exhausted before the day is over. But if you choose to detach, to let go of what is not yours to carry, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering. Some might mistake detachment for indifference, but there is a key difference. Indifference means you don't care. Detachment means you care, but you don't allow it to control you. You can engage in the world without being emotionally consumed by it. You can listen to criticism without letting it define you. You can experience failure without letting it destroy your confidence. You can face uncertainty without letting fear paralyze you. Detachment is not about being cold or emotionless. It is about being in control. When you master this, you gain something incredibly valuable: freedom. You become free from the opinions of others, from the weight of past mistakes, from the fear of what might happen. You move through life with a quiet confidence, unshaken by the chaos around you. So ask yourself, what areas of your life are stealing your energy? What do you allow to dictate your emotions that, in reality, is not worth your time? How much stronger could you be if you learned to detach from what doesn't serve you? Mental detachment is a skill, one that takes practice, but the benefits are immense. When you learn to separate what truly matters from what is merely noise, you gain a level of clarity and emotional strength that few achieve. You stop living as a prisoner to external events and start living with intention, with focus, with unshakable resilience. And in the end, that is what true strength looks like, not being unaffected by life's challenges, but being undisturbed by what doesn't deserve your energy. Habit number 9. Set a daily purpose. How often do you wake up and go through the motions of your day without a clear sense of direction? Do you find yourself reacting to whatever happens, letting distractions dictate your focus, and ending the day feeling like you were busy but not truly productive? This is one of the biggest struggles in modern life. Moving through each day without intention, letting time slip away without meaningful progress. But what if, instead of just letting the day unfold randomly, you set a purpose for it? The Stoics believed that purposeful living is the foundation of strength, clarity, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote in Meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of, if I'm going to do what I was born for?" This is the essence of setting a daily purpose, waking up each day with a clear reason for action, something that directs your energy toward growth and fulfillment. Think about the difference between a man who starts his day with a clear purpose and one who simply reacts to whatever comes his way. The first man wakes up and knows exactly what he wants to accomplish, whether it's advancing in his career, improving his health, strengthening his relationships, or working toward a long-term goal. He doesn't allow distractions to dictate his time because he has already defined what is important. The second man, however, drifts through his day, jumping from one task to another, allowing emails, social media, and minor obligations to consume his focus. By the end of the day, he feels exhausted but unfulfilled, wondering where his time went. Which of these two men do you think is more emotionally strong? Which one do you think ends his day with a sense of accomplishment rather than frustration? The answer is obvious. Purpose is what gives life structure. It's what allows you to take control of your time rather than letting external events control you. But what does it really mean to set a daily purpose? It doesn't have to be a grand mission or an overwhelming list of tasks. Instead, it's about choosing one guiding focus for your day, one meaningful thing that, if accomplished, will make your day feel worthwhile. It could be as simple as being fully present in your interactions, staying disciplined with your habits, or making meaningful progress on a project that aligns with your long-term goals. It could be deciding to remain patient in the face of stress, to approach challenges with a calm mindset, or to make a positive impact on someone else's day. The key is to set this purpose with intention. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, put it this way: life without a design is erratic. When a man is unsure of his purpose, he wastes time on trivial matters, pursuing distractions instead of progress. How many of us are guilty of this? How many times have you let an entire day be consumed by things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't actually matter? One of the best ways to apply this habit is through morning reflection. Before starting your day, take a few moments to ask yourself, what is the one thing I want to accomplish today? What will make this day meaningful? What mindset do I want to carry? By taking just a couple of minutes to define your purpose, you give yourself clarity before the distractions of the world try to pull you in different directions. It doesn't matter whether you are an entrepreneur, an employee, a father, or a student. Having a clear purpose makes you more focused, more productive, and more emotionally resilient. Without purpose, you are vulnerable to wasting your energy on things that do not serve you. With purpose, every action becomes intentional. Modern life is full of noise, constant notifications, endless obligations, and the pressure to always be doing more. But the man who sets a daily purpose doesn't fall into the trap of busyness without progress. He filters out the distractions and hones in on what truly matters. Think about the most successful and disciplined people in history. They didn't just let the day happen to them. They woke up with a plan, a reason for their actions, and a commitment to their goals. They understood that each day is an opportunity, and wasting it is a choice. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, concentrate every minute like a Roman on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice. Every day you have a choice, to drift aimlessly or to act with intention. If you're struggling to stay focused or feel like you're not making real progress, ask yourself, am I setting a daily purpose, or am I just moving through the day without direction? If you feel overwhelmed by distractions, take a step back and refocus. The best way to start is small. Each morning, write down one key priority, one thing that you will ensure gets done no matter what. Over time, this habit strengthens your mind, giving you the discipline to stay on track even when life becomes chaotic. This daily sense of purpose will give you more control over your time, make you less reactive to stress, and give you a sense of accomplishment at the end of each day. The stronger your purpose, the stronger your emotional resilience. At the end of the day, emotional strength is not about avoiding struggle or difficulty. It's about choosing how you respond to each moment, and that starts with setting an intention. Purpose is what gives life meaning, and when you set one daily, you ensure that no day is wasted. So before you start tomorrow, ask yourself, what is my purpose today? What will make this day a success? How can I align my actions with my long-term goals? The answers to these questions will determine not just how your day unfolds, but how your life is shaped. Because when you commit to living each day with purpose, you are no longer just surviving. You are building a life of meaning, resilience, and true strength. Habit number 10. Embrace discomfort. Grow through challenges. In today's world, we are conditioned to seek ease, air-conditioned homes, entertainment at our fingertips, food delivered with a single tap. But while convenience makes life more comfortable, it doesn't make us stronger. The truth is, avoiding discomfort weakens us. It keeps us from developing resilience, emotional toughness, and the kind of inner strength that allows us to thrive in the face of adversity. The Stoics understood this well, seeing discomfort not as something to escape, but as the very thing that shapes us. Marcus Aurelius put it best. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, obstacles are not roadblocks. They are the very path to growth. If you want to become emotionally stronger, you must embrace discomfort, not resist it. You must see challenges, difficulties, and setbacks not as things to fear, but as opportunities to become more capable, more resilient, and more in control of your emotions. Think about it. When have you ever truly grown without struggle? The strongest people you know didn't get that way by avoiding hardship. They got there by enduring it, by facing difficulties head-on, by leaning into the discomfort instead of running from it. Yet most people do the opposite. They avoid difficult conversations because they don't want to feel awkward. They stay in jobs they hate because change feels too uncertain. They put off hard decisions because they fear making the wrong choice. But what if, instead of avoiding discomfort, you saw it as your greatest teacher? Every challenge, every failure, and every setback is an opportunity to grow, to sharpen your mind, and to strengthen your character. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." If you've ever lifted weights, you know that muscle only grows when it is pushed beyond its limits, when it experiences tension and strain. The same is true for your mind and emotions. Comfort does not build strength, struggle does. So ask yourself, what challenges am I avoiding because they make me uncomfortable? What fears are holding me back from becoming the person I want to be? Maybe it's the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, or the fear of stepping outside of your routine. The first step in embracing discomfort is recognizing that it is temporary. The hardest moments always pass. Think about the worst day of your life. You survived it. You may have struggled, but you are still here, still moving forward. The pain of discomfort is always temporary, but the growth it provides lasts forever. When you understand this, discomfort stops being something to dread and becomes something to lean into. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," shift your mindset to, "This is making me stronger." Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, see them as training for a stronger mind and a more resilient spirit. One of the greatest barriers to growth is the belief that fear must be absent before we take action. But that's a lie. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. The most successful, disciplined, and emotionally strong people still feel fear. They simply refuse to let it dictate their actions. The Stoics practiced this by actively exposing themselves to discomfort. They fasted to train their bodies and minds to endure hunger. They slept on the floor to remind themselves they could survive without luxury. They embraced voluntary hardship to build mental fortitude. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Growth requires risk. It requires stepping into situations where you might fail, where you might struggle, where you might look inexperienced. But that's the cost of improvement. Avoiding discomfort doesn't just keep you safe, it keeps you stagnant. So how do you start embracing discomfort? Begin by sitting with it. When you feel the urge to escape something difficult, whether it's an uncomfortable conversation, a new challenge, or an emotional struggle, pause. Instead of distracting yourself, observe the discomfort. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What lesson is this teaching me? The more you train yourself to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, the more control you gain over your emotions. Next, take action despite fear. If something intimidates you, do it anyway. Make the difficult phone call. Have the uncomfortable conversation. Try the new skill even if you fail at first. The more you take action despite discomfort, the more you prove to yourself that fear does not control you. Finally, seek out discomfort intentionally. Push yourself beyond your comfort zone daily, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Challenge your body with intense workouts. Expose yourself to new experiences. Take on responsibilities that stretch your limits. The more you train yourself to embrace difficulty, the stronger and more adaptable you become. Think about the great men throughout history. Warriors, leaders, philosophers. None of them became great by avoiding hardship. They became great because they endured it, because they leaned into discomfort and emerged stronger on the other side. At the end of the day, emotional strength is not about avoiding pain. It's about learning to endure and grow through it. The man who resists discomfort will always be at its mercy, but the man who embraces it will become unshakable. So ask yourself, where in my life am I choosing comfort over growth? What challenges am I avoiding? What would change if I faced them head on? Because the moment you start embracing discomfort instead of fearing it, you unlock a new level of strength, resilience, and confidence. You stop being controlled by fear and start being shaped by it. You realize that the hardest paths lead to the greatest transformations, and that is where real emotional strength is built. As we wrap up today's video, take a moment to think about which of these 10 habits resonates with you the most. Emotional strength isn't built overnight. It's a daily practice, a commitment to mastering your mind rather than being ruled by external forces. The Stoics understood that true resilience comes from within, from the small, intentional choices we make each day. So I challenge you, which one of these habits will you start implementing this week? Will you focus on controlling only what's within your power, practice gratitude, or push yourself to embrace discomfort as a path to growth? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I'd love to hear how you plan to strengthen your emotional resilience. If you found value in this, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue learning together. This is Stoic in Your Life, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay grounded, and keep building the mindset of a Stoic.